We all have heavy hearts to share. We all feel alone and scared.
Ah, Welcome to the Bro Goes On podcast. I am your host, Zach. Um, I'm just chilling on the bed today, and I've been thinking about doing this. I don't know if I can call it a confessional, uh, but I've been thinking about doing this episode for a couple of days now, and I wasn't feeling very motivated in the beginning, and I think that I just woke up this morning and I just decided that this is a message that I feel I need to share. It's probably because, maybe I just need to get it off my chest. But, I've been going through my phone and I've seen a lot of pictures and a lot of memories that I've made over the years. And even sometimes those memories that pop up on Google Photos, And so I've been doing a lot of reflecting. I've been doing a lot of praying because the last couple of months, and I feel I can share it now because I'm so into this space, and I've been into this space for a couple of months. Is I lost my job um, last year, and so I've been navigating the space, trying to figure out who I am, um, where do I fit in, what is the next step for me, and yeah, I don't know if you noticed that I didn't say that I'm the host with the most. I took that out because I chose not to say it because I'm going through the most at the moment, and I still find ways to smile, to laugh. Um, I've got Before I get to the actual story, I'm just giving a bit of perspective. Um, I've been blessed with a very good group of men around me. Those who chose to stick around and still chose to be a part of my life and still chose to be friends with me. I'm very grateful for that. I pray about it constantly. I'm thankful for those brothers. I don't need to mention their names. They know who they are. They show up unannounced. They send me constant messages. They phone me. They phone me all the time to check up on me, to motivate me, to see how I'm doing. And I am very grateful to you guys for doing that. And I'm very hard on myself when it comes to friendships as well. I think back in the day, I used to think that I was the most amazing friend that I was. Um, and then I started making mistakes as a friend, as friends do, because I held myself to a very high standard. And I started making mistakes, and certain brothers, even the female friends, they pointed out certain things, and I was shocked. I was like, whoa, I didn't realize that I was that guy, So I had to reflect on those moments and accept that I wasn't this guy that I was trying to be or pretending to be, and I just I had to accept certain things about myself that I wasn't this perfect guy that I thought I was, or that I was pretending to be or trying to be. Um, it was just I think it reached a point where it just fizzled out, and I had to become the person that I was. I always try very hard not to be a bad guy. Like, I try to be the best version of myself that I possibly can. So if ever I slip and I fall, and I think, and my wife can attest to this, is that I find it very difficult to apologize, even if I'm wrong. But then I make up ways to say sorry without saying I'm sorry. But I think saying the words, it's actually it's much more meaningful to say it, and then you can sort of feel the whether the apology is genuine or not. But yeah, I think it's time that I get to the actual message. Um, so as I mentioned earlier, I went through my phone and I've been looking at a couple of pictures, and my memory's been I've been reflecting. And as I've been on this journey of masculinity, manhood, thank you to the Man Enough podcast, and of course Jason Wilson as well, Lewis Howes. These are the Pivot podcast. These are the types of things that I listen to, and these are the things that motivate me. And there's always a spiritual aspect to it, and I'm grateful for that. Um, and before I started this video, I was praying earlier, and I asked God for this message to reach the people that it's supposed to reach, because my podcast is about men. It's about inspiration. It's about you know having us men stand by each other and not forget about each other. And I started developing this thing where I do my check-ins with all my male friends specifically. I'll send them messages. Sometimes they reply, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they reply a couple of days later, but it makes me feel good because I know the value of what they brought into my life, and what they still bring, right? So, despite where we are at different stages of our lives, um, whether we are friends today or whether we just, politely gone our separate ways, and sometimes the friendships they fizzle out, and I think that's just part of life, and maybe people are only in your life for a season. Me, I like to keep them around for as long as possible, but it's not always that easy. But anyway, so I prayed and I asked God to bless this message, because I don't think I can do this podcast without His blessing. So every single word that I speak today, I hope it's going to enlighten somebody, but also it's a part of my journey as well, so that I can also reflect and look back on where I need to improve as a man. So it's 2026. As I went through my phone, I noticed a picture. I came across a picture, the 8th of April 2025, around about 8:25 a.m., 8:35 a.m. So I was still working at the time. I was on my way to work, but backtracking probably a month or two prior to that, actually last year, not last year, 2024. I had been having some issues with my car at the time. So I had this little Hyundai i10, and what happened was I was going through a whole bunch of things. Going through a whole bunch of things where um, this is a very personal um, video, So if I sound a bit emotional, then that's probably because this is not something that I talk about a lot. My wife knows, Um, but yeah, I was going through the most. I was still working at the time, and I was in a space where I was going through a lot, and I found it very irritating that I was going through so many challenges. And but even that time, I was still praying, and I was still motivated to do what I needed to do. And even the days that I didn't want to, my wife would knock sense into me and say, Zach, listen, you have to keep praying, you have to keep persevering. Um, so very grateful for her, very grateful that the person that I chose to spend the rest of my life with sees who I am, sees the good in me, and doesn't she doesn't water down things. She tells me how it is. She says things the way it is. Very straightforward. And sorry, let me just take a sip of this coffee. Hmm. One thing about me, I love coffee. So if you want to sponsor me with coffee. I won't say no. But yeah, the 8th of April, 2025. I, like I said, months prior to that, I still had my Hyundai i10. But this car was going through the most, and I serviced the car as best as I could, and it just things weren't just nothing was lining up for me during that time, and for some reason I was tempted, and I asked a lot of questions. I specifically went to the brothers that were around me during that period, and I asked them, you know, what do I do in this situation? Do I sell the car? Do I keep it? Do I, spend more money on trying to keep it running? What do I do? So I then took all these messages that I was getting, and I eventually made a decision, and I decided that I was going to sell the car. Because the maintenance was getting a bit hectic. Spoke to the wife as well. She also sort of agreed, and I then proceeded to go through the process of selling the car, and with the money that I received, I then went on search for looking at something different, and this is the one thing that I was so upset about, angry towards myself, because um, I was so eager to find something, because and something decent that I went through a couple of cars, and you know there were brothers. There was a brother helping me at that stage, and I think I don't know if I put enough faith in myself. I don't know if I do know that there was a part of me that was very uncertain about this specific purchase. Um, but you know, long story short, I made the purchase. It was probably the most one of the biggest regrets in my life. But I did it. Purchased this car, and my gut feeling at the time said no. And for some stupid reason, I decided to go with it. And I ended up taking this car from this person, and we did the transaction, blah 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 blah. And turns out this car had more issues than you know. Turns out this car had more issues than anything. I mean, I can't think of comparing it to something right now. But this car had so many issues, and it stressed me out more. And now getting to this crucial point. One of the things was the only way the car could switch off, or the fan could switch off, was I think so, but you had to disconnect the battery basically. Otherwise, the fan would constantly run. So I had to do that all the time. And these battery terminals were not in such a good grade. And eventually I had to get, another brother recommended a mechanic to me. And this guy had to come out, he had to do, he tried his best to do what he could, you know. And so I thank you very much, my brother, for doing the best that you could. And he knows who he is. Actually, two people, the actual mechanic and then another friend of mine. But in going through this process, I had also disappointed one of my closest friends through the purchase of this car because I didn't put enough faith in him, and I didn't. I think that's also where I realized that I I saw myself as something that I wasn't. I tend to forget um, the I think the core values of brotherhood, the core values of friendship. I think I tend to forget that sometimes, and thus I will always reflect on who I am, the things I do or say, and how I carry myself as a person, and especially as a man. And we eventually ironed out that situation, the disappointment where that I projected onto him, um, and I think we are in a better place as brothers, and he could share that with me without screaming at me or anything like that. We actually had a very lovely conversation. So he shared that with me, and I had to go back and, like I said, I'm very hard on myself, and I had to go back and I had to reflect, and I went through this. I went through the process of the reflection. I went through the process of healing and accountability. So I had to take accountability for myself, for my actions, and the way that I had disappointed my friend, the way I hurt my friend. Um, we are good now. We're in a much better place. There's better communication, there's better understanding. And after my apology, and one of the hardest things that I had to do as a man was tell another man that I was sorry for not being a good friend. Um, I rate myself as a 10 out of 10 friend, but I didn't. I failed in that regard. Um, Fast forwarding, the servicing of this specific vehicle, and then also I think the embarrassment of driving around in this car and the condition that it was in, knowing the condition that it was in. I felt so. I felt embarrassment. I felt nervous. I felt like, how could I have purchased this car knowing that there was something wrong with this car? And I ended up, and this is where the 8th of April is so significant, 8:35. So I ended up, it was a rainy day that day, very, very rainy day. It was heavy rain downpours, and I was on my way to work. I had left a bit late because the wipers of the car weren't functioning, and I couldn't drive like that because it was extremely dangerous. And I ended up not going to work that day, but I had my daughter next to me in the car because I had to take her to school. Um, the rain was so bad that we had to pull off to the side of the road. So I left home. I probably drove about less than 100 meters from the house, and I had to pull off because the rain was so heavy. So I pulled off next to the local sports ground here, and had to park under a couple of trees that were hanging over the fence. And then we just kind of sat there and just had to wait until the rain stopped. And I think I was in communication with my wife at the time, saying, I'm just waiting for the rain to stop, and the wipers aren't working. And lo and behold, it's raining so bad that it starts leaking in the car. And the water starts, getting down to my feet. I think my feet was actually a bit wet there. And here's where this moment hit me actually. My daughter's sitting next to me, and I'm looking at her and I'm communicating with her. And I'm trying to tell her, to explain to her. I think she was about 4 years old at the time, trying to explain to her that, what we are going through at the moment, it's gonna be okay. But in my mind, I'm freaking out, and I'm trying to tell a 4-year-old that things are gonna be cool. And I didn't I didn't want to project negativity onto her. And I'm sure at some point she could have felt that something was not was something was off. So um, she so I'm sitting next to her in the car, and I'm trying to talk to her, and all these things are going through my head. I'm going through a lot of things at work, and I'm trying to process all these emotional stuff that I'm going through. And things just weren't, nothing was clicking for us as a family at that stage. And the just to sort of get to the end point, seeing my daughter in that moment, realizing that she had no idea what was going on. I just looked at her with sadness in my eyes. I ended up crying in the car because I felt like, man, I don't deserve, what's going on at the moment. That's why I say this is a very personal video. I didn't deserve what was happening in that moment on the 8th of April at 8:35 a.m. was when I actually took this picture. So um, it was scary. It was emotional. It was hurtful. Um, but at the end of the day, I'm grateful because I overcame that moment. And I think the message that I want to get out there is that, um, if you are a brother who is going through the most, um, try and lean on the people that are available to you, that you have access to. But it's also very important that these people give you access to them. And that is why I say I'm blessed with a very great group of brothers. I'm not going to name them, they know who they are. They will show up unannounced. They'll video call me. They'll give me a call on WhatsApp. They'll invite me to go out. They'll take me out for whatever. And then I'll feel like, man, I don't have money at the moment. I want to pay for myself. And then these brothers, they just do amazing things, without expecting anything in return. So I'm very blessed. And my brother, I would motivate you, whoever you are, if you're listening to this video and it reaches you. I would motivate you to pour into the brothers that are around you. Open up to them if they are uh, uh, um, if they are opening to if they are open to listen to you. Um, and if you have a band of brothers that are willing to give you space and time to share what you are going through. So I think I'm in that space in my life now where the friends that I have are they're very knowledgeable, and spiritually they are also very very strong. So constant motivation, constant messaging, constant checking up. Even when I feel like I'm going through the most, I still check up on them, and I don't want them to think that I forget about them. So I constantly pray for my brothers, and I pray for the union that we have, for the brotherhood, and yeah. So in short, the message that I wanna really just get out there is that we shouldn't leave each other behind. We should always check in on each other, because as a man, you go through phases in your life where you question yourself a lot, and if if you don't have those good people around you, maybe you even on your own all the time, and you don't know who to speak to, and the next best thing is to take your own life. That's 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 sad. I mean, it hurts me to know that there are men out there who have people around them, but they still feel like they're not enough. They still feel like, you know, where they are in their lives at the moment, the positions that they find themselves in, um, is very scary, very uncertain, and they don't feel like talking, and they don't want to project that onto their spouses, their partners, wives, girlfriends, and then they just decide to leave this world, you know, and not face the challenges. I think the biggest thing for me is facing these moments, and actually thanking God for where I am, although I might not be in the position that I want to be, or that I see myself in. I'm still grateful for the challenges. It does become very extremely hard, um, on a day-to-day basis. But when you have people that look out for you, when you have people that ask you how you doing, when you have people that just hug you because they just want to hug you, because they know you're going through something. They know, they see the hurt, they see the pain, they see the smiles, but they also see what's behind it. So um, yeah, I hope this message reaches somebody. Because one of the many reasons for this podcast is, I always say that if I can change the life of one person, one brother, one man, then I've done something good. And as I mentioned earlier, also, I wasn't feeling 110% to do a video, or to put out an episode. Um, and then I think this morning I just woke up and I told myself, you know what, let me just do something. This is also, sort of helpful for me to just get something off my chest, and to talk about, the experiences I've been through, and the testimonies, and things that I endured, and things that I've overcome. And God has been a very big influence in that as well. So I didn't do everything on my own. And so I always try to be the best that I can be the best friend, be the best husband, be the best father. And yeah, I just want you to know, my brother, that you are not alone. And I'm probably telling myself that as well. I'm not alone either, you know. And I hope that you have a band of brothers that you can, fall back on, who will catch you when you fall. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, for listening. And as I mentioned earlier, I hope this episode is something that will reach somebody. I hope it's going to be a good episode. Like I said, I don't have a special guest on. It's just me. I just decided that I wanted to do this, and get something out there, get something off my chest at the same time. So um, yeah. So look, my daughter and I, we made it through. We made it through that moment, and everything that happened after that. You know. Um, has brought me to this moment now in my life, where that story that I shared earlier, I can now uh, um, I can now take that moment and I can reflect on it, and I can use that as a motivational tool to take myself forward and give a message of hope to other people. So yeah, this is me signing off. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this message reaches you. And yeah, please like, share, follow, subscribe to the Bro Goes On podcast. Um, and yeah, feel free to comment as well. And if you want to contribute, please do so. Thank you so much for watching.